All right, Casey, today, and actually for quite a while, I've been flying a red-tailed hawk for the first time in a while. And when I pull that big girl out, everybody's eyeing the gear up. And first and foremost, they see those sexy little squirrel chaps that she's wearing.
Where'd those come from?
They came from mountainstateFalconrySupply.com. And you know the best part about it? I'm in North Carolina. I ordered from Heather on, let's say, Saturday. I think they were here like Monday or Tuesday. It was like incredible. Being able to get something quickly on the East Coast is important to me because I don't know about you. I am like super scatterbrained about my falconry supplies. And it's like I decide I need something, but really I needed it a week ago. So yeah, it's good just to have Heather here on the East Coast. So I highly encourage people to check her out at mountainstatefalconrysupply.com. All right, Casey.
Yeah, what's up?
Let's talk tight, okay?
I love talking tight. Let's do it.
You're using it. Harrison's using it. I'm using it. Everybody's using it. Everybody who's anyone's using it. When we want the best, we go for the tightest. And who's doing the tightest?
Richard Moats at midnightfalconry.com.
That's right.
Aaron, we're supposed to be doing a podcast right now. What are you reading?
Oh, sorry, dude. I'm just enamored by this book I'm checking out by Bob Glass.
I can see the beautiful pictures from here. That's all I care about.
I know you're a picture guy, but there's a lot of really good words in here too.
I don't like the words.
Well, I do, but it's A Journey with Red Tails by author Bob Glass. Are you familiar with him, Casey?
Yeah, I grew up with Bob since I got into falconry. Before I was even in falconry, I met Bob. The guy has been flying everything for a tremendous amount of time, has a lot of experience, especially with red tails. And he decided, screw it, I'm going to write a book. And it's a really good book, excellent quality. He put his heart and soul into the thing. I got one right here behind me. It's excellent. Go check him out at ajourneywithredtails.com.
So today, Casey, after my red tail jackhammered a squirrel out of the tree in front of 20 people, we also put the goshawk up. And this goshawk is just wowing everybody with its acrobatics, just spiraling around trees after squirrels, flying to and fro through the treetops with ease. And I think you know where this bird came from.
I'm sure I would. The only place that a bird should come from. NorthMountainGoshawks.com for your next hunting partner. Visit him on Facebook and his website and fill out the questionnaire and tell him the Sporting Chance sent you. Winner of the most viewed episode of the year, Sean O'Neill, episode 22. Sean has a tremendous amount of experience with sighthounds, terriers, and pretty much any dog in between. His episode covered everything from acting in the Ninja Turtles movies to chasing down coyotes with his dogs. Sean has come on board and would like to offer the opportunity to our listeners to purchase dogs that he breeds himself. They'll chase anything from hares to bears. Go check him out at Clover Creek Canines on Facebook.
All right. Welcome to the Sporting Chance podcast. I'm Aaron Kincaid.
And I'm Casey Everett.
And today we are joined by falconer Ian Gregg. Thanks for coming on, Ian.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
No problem, man.
Scholar.
And I think we'll get into that, but I do want to address something. My understanding is that you were busy cleaning up diarrhea this evening.
Yeah. No, I got stuck in rush hour traffic, and my dog, normally he could hold out until like 5, but I pushed it a little too long. And then there was all three. There was poop, pee, and throw up all over the carpet.
Oh my God.
It's the holy trinity right there.
Yeah. And it was gross. Like, it was already gross, but that kind of pushed it over the edge where it's like, I need to act now. Like, I cannot tolerate this anymore.
Yeah.
So just
Is the dog in a crate?
Yeah. I have one. I built like it's like bigger than a crate. So there's like a crate inside of this like 4 foot by 4 foot, like essentially like cell that's like in my living room. I got that for my first dog because he was a maniac. Like, you let my first dog, Jaeger, who was one of Mike Radford's dogs, you just let him like run around the house, you'd come back to a pile of ashes. Like the house would be burnt down. Like that. The dog was crazy.
Yeah.
So
Friend of the show, Mike Radford.
yeah, I went and I saw Mike Radford in person at the NAFA meet this year. I wasn't expecting to see him there, but we were both there. We went out hawking.
Oh, that's awesome. We'll just jump right in. How was the NAFA? It looks like it was a blast.
Yeah, it was really fun. I got to see the first peregrine that I've ever seen catch something. I caught a duck. That was Corey Rolke. That's how you say his name. It's his bird. Yeah, and it did a stoop and scoop. So we flushed ducks off a pond. It kind of like went down from it wasn't super high, but it was, I guess, high enough to get speed to like kind of stoop underneath them and then kind of go back up and grab them on the way up. So that was neat. I forget what kind of duck it was. I think it was a mallard. But got to see Mike Radford's, he was mostly flying his goshawk, Sybil. And I brought my kestrel. So I went out and did a little car hawking with the kestrel, which was fun. But yeah, it was fun though. Yeah, I got a starling and a sparrow. I was a little mad because they consider starlings and sparrows miscellaneouses. And, that's like what we're going for. Like in my mind, a miscellaneous is like you have a red tail catches like a pack rat or something,
Yeah.
Like that's like our explicit goal is to catch these birds. So, that was my rule.
Yeah, NAFA squirrels used to be miscellaneous at NAFA meets.
Yeah.
Which is a disgrace. But you got to do something pretty cool. I saw from all the posts and stuff. You were with Mullenix, weren't you?
Yeah. So I went out with the car hawking master, who's going to be the New Jersey speaker this year.
Yeah.
And so we had both of our kestrels in the front seat of the car, driving around town, trying to find starlings. And then Lauren Reddick pulled up next to us and took a picture of us, and we didn't see her at first. We were like both driving around with our kestrels in our hand.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
great.
Like his big thing is you have to think about when you're car hawking, what's going to happen after the slip. Because, the slips generally are pretty safe. It's just, they're flying directly down at a bird that's feeding. But, what's going to happen after the bird misses and it kind of veers off into something else. So I got to learn some good stuff from him, and I'll see him again pretty soon for the New Jersey meet.
So that's what you're flying this year is a kestrel?
Yeah. So I've flown like 7 red tails before. This year, over the summer, we, for the New Jersey Falconry Club, sometimes we get called to rescue like an escaped falconry bird or a bird that's acting weird or something. So I kind of went out on one of those calls, and we found on the New Jersey beach near like North Jersey, there was this kestrel that was like flying down to people and acting super tame and weird. So I kind of went out on like a rescue mission to find that bird. And we eventually, someone else picked it up, and then we kind of linked up with the person, but I got to hold the kestrel on my hand, and they're just kind of neat little birds, how they kind of move, and they're super cool looking, with all the patterns and stuff. So once I held the kestrel, I was kind of I want to try this just once. I don't think I'm going to be car hawking years and years down the road. But it was one of those things that I wanted to do. And I've flown, quite a few red tails at this point. So, I just kind of wanted to mix it up this year. Also build up that desire to get back out rabbit hawking for my first goshawk, which I think I want to do next.
Were you getting burnt out from flying red tails when you mentioned desire, get the desire?
I think I knew that I like to develop myself as a falconer. I needed to do something different. I think the next step up was probably a goshawk for me. But I don't know, I have a pretty demanding, I'm in graduate school right now. And so at the time, I was getting a lot of pressure from that. So I wanted to just make sure that if I did get a goshawk, I would have time to really do it justice. Cause, I'm one of these guys that I don't like having 3, 4, 5 different birds at a time and only flying 1 or 2 of them. I want to, if I have a bird, I want to fly that bird and have it reach its potential. So especially if I got an accipiter, I wanted to make sure I had the time and the sort of hunger, to do right by it.
That's good.
Yeah. So you planning on being done with grad school this year?
Who knows? I mean, I'm in a PhD program, so it could take a long time. Some people are 7 or 8 years in, So I'm in my third year right now. And, part of it, it's nice because it's a flexible schedule. Like I don't have to be in at a certain time. And so for falconry's sake, like that's kind of ideal, right? Like you get to, you could leave in the afternoon, go hawking and stuff. But there is also an expectation that you're getting stuff done. So, there's a balance, but I think for now, I'm like happy with it.
So what is your PhD in?
So I'm doing a neuroscience PhD. So
nerd alert.
Yeah.
We'll hit you up for some money when you're done.
Hopefully, I don't know.
That's awesome. So like medical neuro or something else?
So it's like basic science. So we're working with like mice, and we're trying to figure out like how they engage in social behavior. So when like they're exhibiting like aggressive behaviors to defend their territory, or they're engaging in sort of mating behaviors. Like what's like the circuitry that produces that behavior? Like how does it interact with like hormones? And like how do hormones affect the activity of neurons? So like really basic neuroscience questions.
So when mice are feeling sexy, you're checking out their brain and seeing
exactly
what's going on.
Yeah.
So are you doing like feeding them soy milk and stuff to see if it like, lowers their sex drive?
I'm doing estrogen injections.
Really?
What's funny about that is, sometimes we work with controlled substances. Like in my old lab, I was doing research on psilocybin, which is the chemical in magic mushrooms.
Yeah.
And so it had to be behind like multiple locked, safes and stuff. But what's funny about hormones is that estrogen is not a controlled substance. So you could just have that out on the shelf. But if you had testosterone, now you need to put it behind like a locked door and stuff.
Yeah. That should make you aggro.
Right.
Get you
no
going.
one wants to be dosing on estrogen though. No one wants to be getting more in touch with their emotions or
no. That's so funny.
That's for sure.
Hell no. Yeah, no, that's crazy. I wouldn't think that estrogen I would think it would be the same as testosterone. Like you have to get like prescription or like whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, that it's just sitting out on the shelf. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I'm going to start dosing Casey with estrogen.
No.
Hey, dude. Taste this drink. It's delicious, man.
Yeah. All of a sudden, I just start feeling bad for everything I catch and having a desire to fly a Harris hawk.
You just get a cat.
Yeah, I just get a cat randomly for no reason. It just sits on my lap.
Yeah. Speaking of cats, so, you guys, you're not the biggest cat fans on this podcast. And like, I kind of come across like, cats every once in a while. But just the other day, one of my good spots that I took my friend Andon to, who I'm sponsoring this year, because he's trying to get his bird his first kill. So I took him to like one of my really good spots from the past. And we didn't see a single thing except for like 20 different cats. And people were setting up the little storage containers with the holes cut out with the food. And then he had his neighbor was like owns like a cat rescue. So he was like, oh, I'll just call my neighbor. And she'll like, get these cats, taken away. But then neighbor's like, oh, no, that's a managed colony and they're okay. They look fine. It's like, okay, they're fine, but they're killing everything. Like we didn't see a single thing there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this used to be a good spot.
Yeah, it was a solid spot. We would see like squirrels, rabbits, and now it's just desolate.
Yeah. On that same note, and I was texting your former sponsor about this because how they're always like they reach critical mass for like grizzly bears in an area, and then the hunt can open legally, and then all these like anti-hunting groups start suing the government to like stop the hunt, and then it gets litigated and like all this stuff, So I texted Maynard, NAFA's legal counsel, and I said, like all these anti-hunting groups and like animal rights groups are always trying to sue like for like hunting related things to like impede our ability to hunt. I said, why can we not sue like the state of New Jersey for allowing feral cats to just destroy the ecosystem? Why can't we bring a suit against them and say that they're destroying our ecosystem by allowing this to go on and something needs to be done about it? Like, why can't we do that?
Right.
and he's like, well, I'll call you later. He never called me, but I'm just thinking like, we're always on the defensive as hunters and outdoorsmen. Like, why can't we just like, oh, this feral cat's destroying my hunting fields. All right, I'm just going to sue the state of New Jersey for allowing this to go on. Because if you call them, they won't do anything about it.
Yeah.
They'll just say, like what you just said. They'll call some cat rescue person in the area. They'll say, oh, it's a managed colony. It's fine. And then they'll just leave it alone. And you'll never catch rabbits there again in your life.
You have to take conservation into your own hands.
That's right. That's right, Aaron. That's right. Allegedly. Hypothetically.
Hey, conservation's a broad term. I could be talking about anything.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. So, all right. So I just brought up your former sponsor. So let's go back to the beginning. How old were you when you get involved? I remember you coming to the meet before you were even a falconer. And I remember I was like, I knew this kid was a smarty pants because I remember you came to the meet and you had a very nice sweater over your shoulders and you had it folded over your chest. I'm like, oh, this kid's trying to get into a doctor program. He's like 15 years old. So how old were you when you came to your first, when you started getting into it?
I think I remember I was the youngest that you could possibly be because I got my license and the person, I forget was it Madonia at that time? I think it was McBride, something McBride.
Yeah, McBride, yeah.
Yeah, so he inspected my muse on my birthday and gave it to me. I think I was 14 at the time, like I just turned 14. And that was in December. And then I got my first bird on the last day of the, like the last day of December, last day that you could take a bird. And the first time I flew the bird was at, I think, the first meet that I went to. I don't know if I went to a meet before I was licensed, but
maybe you were. I just didn't know.
Yeah. So first time I flew the bird, it was at the meet. It was really snowy out, and the bird went up into a tree, sat there, and then it took me like 30 minutes to get him down. But I didn't lose him, so mission success.
Yeah.
And then I've been flying red tails ever since. But I got into it early, and it was really cool because it gave me something that really set me apart to like help me get into school. I wrote about that for my college essays and stuff, and it was I think it was a really positive influence in my life, and I could thank my parents because they were very supportive and they helped drive me to hawking fields before I could drive. So I was very fortunate to be able to do it.
Yeah, and you did it well from the get go. If I remember correctly, you were always out there getting after it.
Yeah, I caught game with the first bird. I was really lucky because, I was making a lot of mistakes, especially looking back in hindsight. But that male, he was a male red tail that I got, and he was like the most forgiving, easy, chill red tail that I possibly could have gotten.
He must have been high on estrogen.
Yeah. But I mean, literally, like I would take him to my high school, and I would just let people like pet him. Like I was doing idiotic shit. Like, girls would be like, oh, he's so fluffy. And I let them hug him. And he was so chill.
Oh my God.
It could have ended horribly, but I just didn't know. Cause like, I thought that was just like what red tails were like.
Yeah.
So I was fortunate to have him as my first bird. We caught a decent amount of game, all things considered. And then I just kind of kept on going.
And
how long did you keep him?
I kept him 2 years. And then I got another bird in like my junior year of high school, and then another bird in my senior year of high school. The one I had my senior year was a really good bird, but I couldn't really keep her like freshman year of college, so I had to let her go. But,
what's the longest you've kept a red tail? Sorry, Casey.
It's all right. It's okay.
Just 2 years. I've interviewed I think 3 birds. But yeah, I haven't kept a bird for like, I think Chris Brown, her bird was like I think it just passed away, right? It was like something like 20 or 30 years old.
Yeah, something crazy. It was like 30 years old, something like that.
Yeah, it was a really beautiful bird. It was a Criders, I think.
Criders, yeah. Yeah, it was a Crider. And like, not to like, talk crap about other falconers, but you see a ton of people that will trap those and dark morphs and cool stuff, and like they don't do anything with it. And like Chris Brown, I mean, she was catching game every year with that thing, like slaying it. She didn't, you know what I mean? And most people were like, oh, I don't want to, you know, like, but she was out there just killing it, catching stuff all the time. So we're going to get her on the show too. She's a cool person.
Yeah. She lives like right down the street from me.
Oh, really?
I was pushing hard for her to sponsor me. But she didn't want to. And I don't blame her. Like sponsoring like a 14-year-old, that's like risky business.
Yeah.
You know, just because you're not just dealing with the kid, you're dealing with also the parents. Because like, you know, who's you're going to have like authority bumping into each other with the sponsor and the parents.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, no, she seems like she gets after it. She's got she had Datsuns and Jeeps. She loved her Jeeps.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that'll be cool to get her on.
Yeah, we'll get her on. So speaking of authority and bumping into each other, you had an interesting thing because, all right, so on the show, we talk about the sponsorship program and how it's kind of, you know, a mess. And like sometimes people that are not qualified can like squeeze through the system and certain people will sponsor them that they shouldn't. And they just let people pass through. But you kind of had the opposite thing happen where like you needed to jump from one sponsor to another, not because you were unqualified, but because the sponsor was maybe a little bit too demanding of you. Can you talk about that a little bit? We don't have to say who it was because we both know them. And if we say who it is,
yeah, well, I mean, I think it's mostly, I have like in hindsight, it's a mostly positive thing. So, like, I don't mind saying names, like if you guys are cool with it.
Yeah, I don't care. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So originally my first sponsor, was a guy named Hugh Prybell, who's like a beekeeper. He goes by Rocky. Most people know him by Rocky if they know him, but he's not super involved in like the falconering clubs or anything like that. And he was kind of like a paper sponsor, like really nice guy, but he was just super busy with his beekeeping business. And he didn't have a ton of time to like, I don't think he hunted a ton. And he didn't have a ton of time to like hold my hand with the falconry. Like we got out hunting like once or twice, but it was mostly like a paper sponsor type thing. Yeah. And so as a 14-year-old with a paper sponsor, like that was a pretty tough, you know, predicament. Like I didn't have a lot of guidance. Like Chris Brown helped, but she wasn't going to like, you know, hold my hand either. Like she said, like, I'll help out, but like, you know, I'm not going to be your sponsor. Like you need to like figure it out or get some other help. And so James Maynard like was huge in stepping up. He did give me the sort of the guidance that I needed to develop into like someone who could fly a red tail and have success. And he gave that to me. He was very generous with his time. And, you know, I got to see his bird fly and he had a Dachshund as well. So I got to see his Dachshunds run. And, you know, I could tell he did a good job with his one red-tailed pearl. The bird was very well mannered, very strong flyer, followed well. So I got to see good falconry through him. So I switched over to him as my sponsor and learned a lot from him. But yeah, so kind of going in and so granted too, like I'm 14 and you get your generals at a minimum age of 18 in New Jersey. It was like a 4-year apprenticeship for me. And so there came a point where like, it was like the beginning of trapping season. It was like, I don't know, I want to say like late August or early September, something like I was getting ready to trap a bird. I was psyched. And like, especially when I was younger, you know, like the present was like now, like I just couldn't wait to like get in the field and start trapping. Like any sort of delay was like the end of the world. And so kind of close to the trapping season, he had this idea that he wanted me to like write a book about the falconry in the English language. I guess there's like a lot of different like terms or like idioms that come from falconry that are kind of incorporated into kind of common parlance. I'm not sure exactly what his idea was, but he wanted me to kind of contribute to the like he was really involved in NAFA with this idea of the sort of falconry as an intangible part of cultural heritage. So like this really sort of like important living tradition in the world. And so he wanted me to contribute to that as sort of part of my the sort of barrier to entry. And so I respect that because like he comes he comes to the table, I think, with good intentions regarding that. Like he wanted me to contribute to the sort of more cultural, part of falconering. But it was like right before trapping season. And like, I wanted to get out in the field and get my bird, and like writing a book, that was like a tall order. So I don't harbor any ill will towards him. He taught me a ton. But at that point it was just like, I want to get my bird, and like, and so I switched back to Rocky, and we still, James and I have a good relationship. So there's no bad blood. And I think, kind of contributing to the more cultural, historical part of falconry will benefit everyone. And I think it's a great thing. I just wasn't able to do it at that point or willing to do it. So, but it's the sponsorship situation is kind of tricky because everyone has a different sort of idea of what it means to like do enough to get the general. And
I'm ready for Casey to take an apprentice. I think he'd be a great sponsor.
I'd make him write a whole series, a whole book series.
Casey would make him write a children's book.
Yeah. No. And I only asked Ian just because I know it's an interesting thing to talk about, that whole situation. And I'm not trying to stir the pot. I'm friends with James to this day. You have a good relationship with James, so I'm not trying to stir the pot. I just thought it was interesting because it's not something you hear every day, that there's a situation like that where your sponsor's putting like extra pressure on you, and then it becomes something that kind of drives a little bit of a wedge where you need to separate from that person. So no, it was interesting. And yes, I haven't met anybody yet that I feel as though, there was a guy who came out in the field with us like 2 months ago. He was cool. Brought his son with him. He's real gung ho. But yeah, I haven't really met anybody that's jumping out at me as someone that I would really want to sponsor.
So were you with Casey on this bear hunt trip?
Yeah. We both got a bear.
Oh, nice. Congrats.
Thanks, man. Do you do any other type of hunting?
I do a little bow hunting, not like consistently. Generally, falconry season rolls around, I'm kind of laser focused on that. But
yeah, I know what you mean. I'm trying to diversify my hunting a little more. I trapped my first beaver the other day.
Oh, nice.
It took the bear earlier this year. So yeah. I think next year I'm probably going to take a couple deer early season.
Yeah. I think that's the time before the falconry season kind of gets up and going hard.
Yeah. Casey, we were just talking about other forms of hunting.
Yeah, you got to get into it. Yeah, especially if you want to. My wife emasculates me. I talk about it on the show all the time that if I don't get at least 1 or 2 deer, she starts treating me differently. So I gotta.
Rabbit?
Huh?
You guys ever eat rabbit?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I just got into it like 5 years ago, 6 years ago. I started actually cooking them up because I'm like, you're dealing with them all the time, and you're like, it just looks like chicken, so why not? Tastes good. Tastes great.
Yeah, I had for the last red tail that I had, I invited a bunch of friends over. I had a little release party, and I got a bunch of the rabbit that we had caught over the course of the season. And like I made like a Kentucky fried rabbit with all the rabbit legs and the loins and stuff, and
that's cool.
Some rabbits, and it was good.
Oh, that's great. What kind, like all your college friends?
From my program, and stuff like that. So yeah, it was fun. Like rabbits, it's pretty good. They say that if you just eat rabbit, you'll die because it's so lean. But
a good diet, the rabbit diet.
Yeah,
lose a little bit of weight.
Not if you're frying it in oil after it's been battered. You ain't dying. Anytime soon.
Could you imagine how much weight you would lose if all you did was eat like roasted rabbit?
Dude, I fantasize about. I'm married now with kids and a wife who cooks, but I used to think about that. Like, if I just try to go through an entire hunting season with not going to the store at all, just eat everything that you kill, and if you don't kill anything, you don't eat. I've always thought about that.
You do it. You catch a lot.
Not this year. I'm not as much on the ball this year. I mean, we're doing fine. Caught 3 yesterday, but It was I got this new bird, and she's just a clumsy, stupid bird. Just stupid. Just because, just absolutely stupid. Like,
what's the story for? Is she like a hand-me-down or?
No. I can't even use that excuse this time.
Yeah, she was handed down from the mother to Casey.
Yeah, she was handed down. Yeah, as a chick. No, and then I'm kind of like complaining about it and stuff. So I'm getting messages from guys that have more experience than me, and they're like, "Well, it's an albitus," and I'm like, "So?" They're like, "That's you get an albitus goshawk for the third season," and I'm like, "What do you mean?" They're like, "They're slower to develop. Everything's a game. They're just like," and I think gyrfalcons are similar, where like the first year is just kind of like getting them in a routine, and then they start turning on like the second and third year. So, for example, like the North American, like just the first squirrel she ever caught, she grabbed it and finagled it and grabbed it right by the head. Like, this bird is good with squirrels, the albitus, but Franny pops a rabbit out of a hole. I have it on video. It runs out of the hole and then stops under like some goldenrod, like a little 6x6 patch of goldenrod that's like laid down from the snow, and it just freezes under there. Goss comes from behind me, and it's like a normal bird, it sees the rabbit go in there and then will check up and wait or land close by. She just comes like this from behind me, goes over the goldenrod, checks off, and then flies 200 yards away. And lands in a tree with her back to it and just starts screaming. Then Ginger flushes it. It runs back the other way, away from where the bird landed. And then the bird like powers through the sky to try to get to it. And the bird just does that constantly.
Yeah.
So like, I'm not putting less slips in front of the bird. I'm not hawking less, maybe a little less, but it's just stuff like that. We'll turn a hunt that should be an hour long or 10 minutes long into 3 hours before she catches.
That's the kind of thing that you hope the bird is learning, but it doesn't seem like she is.
She's really not, because it's like it goes somewhere, she sees it, we flush it, but she's completely out of position, flies back, tries to catch it, lands, Ginger's working it, and then she just will randomly just fly away, land, then fly back, but it already flushed. It's just a weird bird. Just does weird stuff. It's just strange. I don't know. I tried playing with the weight. Doesn't make a difference. Just flies worse. Lower and then heavier. It just doesn't care. And
see, this is built into my idea of what it's like to fly a goshawk, which is why I really want to build up that hunger to to tolerate all that frustration before I get one.
It just depends on what type of gosh you get.
Yeah, good point. It's a good point. Yeah.
What would you guys recommend? You know any goshawk breeders?
We know a few. We may have a sponsor of the show that breeds nice birds.
Yeah, Seth Roy at North Mountain Goshawks. He's pretty much your only option now for parent reared goshawks. And you could ask anyone who saw my parent reared goshawk. She didn't come from Seth Roy, but the breeder who bred her isn't.
Same.
Yeah, same. Seth has a lot of his birds. So
it's the same curriculum.
Yeah, same principles behind it, but just, super chill, very friendly with other people. A stranger could come up and pet her on the kill. I could hand her to a stranger and they could hold her, no problem. She was just... Goshawks are, in our opinion, more challenging. Excuse me, more challenging to fly. But I'm sure you would do great with one at this point with the experience that you have.
Yeah, I'm psyched to get into it.
Yeah,
it's not rocket science. You'll definitely do fine. I've never flown a chamber bird, but all the chamber birds that I saw one really bad one, and just bad in the sense that it would just sit in the tree for like an hour and a half before it would come down and like check off the slips and fly very like weakly. And I think that was just whoever was flying it. So I don't know if it was directly related to the fact that it was a chamber bird, but Aaron's bird, like you said, was, the calmest thing, calmer than a Harris hawk, just completely chill. Ian Anderson's bird out in Iowa, that bird was just like, it was like a parrot, like literally like a parrot. It would like nibble your fingers and then jump on your head and then slaughter a rabbit, like.
I got to fly with Ian too at the NAFA meet.
Yeah, he's a cool guy, right?
Yeah. He's a kestrel now too. So you're texting about that.
Yeah. He's getting that. Yeah, he's smart. He's a smart man. He's trying to use the kestrel to bring his wife into it, get her invested into the whole thing. Which
Does he
great.
still have a goshawk?
Yeah. He's doing.
He hunts a lot of pheasants, right?
He hunts a lot of pheasants, and just tiercels are tough. Tiercels are tough to fly, and Ian's doing fine. It's just he's putting a lot of slips in front of the bird, and the bird is just kind of picking and choosing which bird it wants to catch. But when it chooses which bird it wants to catch, there's nothing that can stop it from catching it. It's just the bird's got to get out of its own head. That's pretty much all it is. So for your first goshawk, I would definitely recommend a female. Right, Aaron?
100%.
Yeah, definitely a female. And
if you plan on ever catching squirrels, get a female.
And chamber bird would be great. I've never trained one. I don't really know what's all involved. Aaron knows more about it, but they just seem like less of a headache. Like you can hood them and they'll just sit on a perch, and you can hood an imprint too, but it takes more to get a hood on an imprint than it does a chamber bird once you start fresh with one.
Chamber birds are quiet too. They're not screaming like imprints. I hate screaming birds.
Yeah, it's really annoying. The screaming is really obnoxious. It stops usually after the first and second season. It really kind of tapers out to nothing. I keep the albitus in the trunk in the bed of my truck with a cap, because when I'm driving for work and I'm on the phone with customers, I can't have a screaming bird in the cab with me. And then I keep the North American her boxes directly behind my seat. Second season, she's dead silent. She'll cack when I stop the truck and I'm fiddling with stuff. She'll cack or make a little noise, but she doesn't. Once she's out of the box, she's pretty good. She doesn't really, she's pretty good. But yeah, I mean, can't go wrong. Any female. I just wouldn't, after this year, I wouldn't get an albitus as your first. I wouldn't get a pure albitus as your first goshawk.
Yeah.
No,
I was floating the idea. Mike Radford offered to show me some nests in Alaska, because apparently there's a ton of them there.
You should do it. You should do it. Yes.
It'd be cool to get a North American. If I had my choice of, subspecies, it'd be the North American. North American subspecies. So
100%.
In Alaska.
Yeah, they're nice. Yeah, they're definitely, they're big. They're bigger. Moglich. Mark Moglich pulled one from Alaska the same year he sold me Betsy, my North American. Mine's the one that he bred is slightly bigger or similar in size, but then the birds from other states up north, on average, they're smaller, but the ones in Alaska seem to be like slightly bigger, which doesn't make a difference. I mean, you're going to catch squirrels all day long. It doesn't matter. Yeah. And the bird's not going to get bit. But yeah, if you have the time, you're not married, so you're single basically.
Yeah.
And if you get the chance to go up there with Mike, dude, that'd be a trip of a lifetime. You should do it.
Yeah, it would be really cool. So I just have to put in for a lottery. It's not a guarantee I'll get it.
I think it's like 5 a year they give out.
Yeah.
But like you get off the plane in Anchorage and you drive like 30, 40 minutes outside of town, and there's like 5 nests that they all know of.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's awesome.
It's not, they have it pretty locked down up there if you know the right people.
Yeah,
it sounds like you do.
Do it.
Okay, enough about goshawks.
Speaking of Mike and Ian, it's my understanding that you ran, and you said so at the beginning of this, you ran one of those beagle jagd-terrier crosses.
Yeah, Jaeger. He didn't live long, but he was a great dog. That dog, I've never seen a dog more energetic. His nose was incredible. Like I got him when I was living in New Haven, and we lived by this like really nice park where there were just rabbits everywhere. So pretty much from 8 weeks old, I was putting him on rabbit scent like every single day.
That's such a foreign concept to me. A park full of rabbits.
Yeah. No, really? It was a spot. It was an awesome spot.
Describe that for me.
It was actually, it was right on the sort of like this little inlet of the Long Island Sound. So I could look at like this nice kind of like water kind of backdrop, and there was like this really kind of non-thorny, I forget if it was like Phragmites or what, but something like that. And there were just rabbits everywhere. And from an early age, he was sniffing out not only the rabbits, but the rabbit nests, which I think like don't have scent or have far less scent than like an actual full grown rabbit. And he was finding those like all over the place. So his nose was incredible, super athletic dog. And, I got to run him for 1 year and, he really did well. And he was a great dog. Fortunately, he got hit by a car, which is the challenge with really fast prey driven dogs, especially New Jersey. I worked with that dog, every single day. Like I wouldn't put food in his dog bowl. Every single kibble that he got was a part of a training regimen. So he had to sit for it. He had to stay. He had to come. Like I wanted him to be like a dog that I could trust 100% of the time to just be paying attention to me and doing what I want. But I think with those jagd-beagles, their prey drive is so freaking strong that you cannot be lax when you're around a road with them. But he was a great dog. Those jagd-beagles are something else. Like I would definitely, even though there's a risk of something like that happening, they're kind of live fast, die hard kind of dogs, and that's just how it is. But you're okay with, having that as a possibility. Tremendous dogs. Absolutely.
Yeah. I was able to, me and you went hawking a couple of years ago, and I was able to see him in action. And it was, Aaron, it was similar to when we went with Kirk and we were just watching those dogs cold trail a bear that crossed the trail 6 hours before we were there, and watching them work that track 6 hours cold, working all the way up to it, then jumping it. It was like similar to that. Like the rabbit was just like, I just remember that one spot where the rabbit jumped up, went like across the parking lot and then like up into the office complex. And like, I just watched Jaeger, like just like right where the rabbit ran, up out of the drainage, like directly across the parking lot, like foot for foot where the thing ran, and then just followed right up after it where like, I'm just like, holy crap. Like this dog's nose is ridiculous. Like just another level, like so good. I fantasize about running one myself. My wife would probably kill me if I got another one. Are they loud in the house and like in the kennel in the yard and stuff? Or they have little?
So
be honest.
Jaeger wasn't loud. He wasn't that loud, but if you left him unattended in a room, that room was going to be on fire when you got back.
Right.
That's why I built this essentially 4 foot by 4 foot jail cell, and I made it out of like there's like kind of like plywood pieces. But like, there's also that little like playpen, like metal kind of thing that you get for puppies.
Yeah.
Okay. In between the little metal bars, he put his snout through and chewed the wood. And he would do that on each little gap in between the metal rungs. So it looks like this little wavy pattern in wood.
Oh my God. It was like those
maniac.
Like those monkeys on Instagram and the cages, and they tease them and then they grab the bars. They go,
yeah. Yeah.
You ever see that where they like do a magic trick for the monkeys and then like it disappears and then the monkey freaks out because like their treat disappears? Oh, yeah. Those videos are so funny. They're probably so like cruel the way they treat the monkeys, but it's super funny. But anyway,
in my building, I actually know the person that works with the monkeys, Brittany, who's incredible.
Oh yeah.
And so they do monkey research in my building, and I'll just correct you on that. Like, the monkeys get treated like royalty. Like,
no, I'm talking about like these videos are for sure in another country, and the bars are like super like not like up to code, and they can they reach their arm out and they like you see their little fingers like trying to grab stuff.
Yeah,
it's definitely not up to code. No, the monkeys that Brittany works with are Brittany's awesome. She's gonna come on the show too. She's super cool.
Yeah, great falconer. She lives really close to me and helps me out with stuff. And it's always good to have a falconry friend who has gone through vet school, because you're inevitably going to run into situations where you don't want to like pay a bunch of money to like ask a veterinarian some question and they're going to charge you like $200.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah. So you ran Jaeger and then you switched. I mean, we could go two different directions. We could go back because you got a dachshund years ago.
That's true. So the first hunting dog that I had was a dachshund. I got that dog from Kevin in Connecticut.
Yep.
And Yeah, and so that was Oliver. Oliver, and like it's hard to know like how much of it is me because I was a 14-year-old that didn't know anything, and I'm getting used to training birds. I've never trained a hunting dog, so who knows if it's me? But he did not turn out to be a good hunting dog at all. Like he was a detriment to the hunt every single time. Went out. And of course, my sister falls in love with him. My mom falls in love with him. So he was very well loved. But literally, I have a vivid memory because my first bird was awesome. Like he was super cooperative, and so I have a memory of Oliver just going through the woods at full speed after a deer, and I'm sprinting after him because I don't want him to like cross a highway and get hit. And like the bird's out because we're hunting, and so I'm chasing Oliver who's sprinting after a deer, and then the bird is like flying, keeping up with me as I'm sprinting after this dog. So God bless that bird, but yeah, it was every hunt was like that essentially. Like I had no control over him. I wasn't using any sort of like e-collar or anything.
Yeah.
So like I didn't know. Like once I got up to him, I was like, bad dog, bad dog. But I think I just taught him to like don't get caught.
Yeah,
like keep on going.
I can picture it because I know exactly what you're talking about. You're trying to grab them and they're like trying to like juke you to get away.
Yeah. Oh, and he was dumb too. Like I loved him. Like I tried to do right by him. But like there was one night where I didn't know where he was, and I think I strapped like a little like Marshall to him, his collar or something. He was like it was dark. Like I got the bird away, went back out to get Oliver, which happened a lot. I was like able to get the bird no problem. Oliver was always the challenge, and like it took me like 2 hours of searching for him with this telemetry. And eventually I find him. And like this is in a field that's like has coyotes. So it's like there's a little bit of urgency to it. And he's like hunkered in this little like tuft of grass, just sitting there not doing anything. And like I was calling for him like tons of times, just like Oliver, Oliver, Oliver. And he's just sitting there and he just looks up at me like, what?
Yeah. He thought he was going to get beat, probably. That's what happens with me sometimes. If the tone of my voice is wrong, the dogs will run and hide. And then I have to like calm my voice down and say, it's all right. It's all right.
Estrogen pill. And
I got just a little shot, like a little quick release tab under my tongue of estrogen. And
estrogen's in.
Estrogen's in. And then I just immediately calm down. And then, because that happened to me at the New York meet where Franny, the bird missed a clean slip out in the open on the grass, pissed me off, and I was furious. And then I'm storming back to the truck, and they're following me, and then I'm getting more and more pissed off as I'm walking. And then all of a sudden, I put the bird in the truck. Ginger's right there. I throw her in the truck, and then it was like same thing, like 30 minutes trying to find this dog, and I found her under like the briars, just like under there, like scared, looking at me. I just wanted to kill her. But it was all because I was angry. But yeah, the e-collar, if you're running a dachshund or any hunting dog, like you just got to, at this point, and I never ran an e-collar, so I know exactly what you're talking about. I had a couple dogs that were like that just would not listen. And I think just if you just put an e-collar on them, they would just immediately listen. Yeah. And then you wouldn't deal with that crap, It's
such an important tool. And I think in the UK, like they banned it. Like
it's illegal. It's unethical.
I got into it with this she was a falconer, but like she was like, oh, that's good because this is an abusive tool. It's like, especially if you're running one of Mike's like jagd-beagles, that like if you don't have some sort of aversive thing that you could do to prevent them from chasing after whatever you don't want them chasing after, you're not getting them back until they're ready. Yeah.
She's probably the type of falconer who would think a bear hunt is cruel.
Yeah.
So.
Well, she'll slaughter a pheasant on the Mars, will she?
No, I think Ian was saying, my understanding was she's American, right?
No, this is a British falconer, I think.
Okay.
Why do you think I was doing the accent?
Yeah, well,
shout out to all our UK falconers. I'm just joking, everybody.
Oh, there's some people out there getting it done.
Oh yeah, for sure. Definitely.
Absolutely. And I'm sure a lot of them are very annoyed with e-collars being banned there.
Yeah, it's a whole weird system over there. There's no public property to hunt. It's like you got to get permission on everything. You can't even get like your hunting license unless you can show proof of hunting access permission, like written permission. You have to like go to the farmer, get permission to hunt there. Then you have to get him to sign it. Then you have to like take all that and like your application for a hunting license and like send it to like the queen. And then she has to like stamp it or something. I don't know. And then you got to like kneel before her. I have no idea how it works.
Yeah, no, I'm glad we could kind of just, go places. And if there's a problem, then all right,
Yeah,
exactly.
Thank God for Walmarts, right?
yeah. And then you trespass over there and they just like, the freaking Queen's Guard just like comes out of the bushes. You ever seen those videos of them, like when somebody tries to pet the horse?
Yeah, and
they're like, "Make way for the Queen's Guard." Yeah. You never seen those videos?
Most of the time, they're just stoic and don't do anything. And then
but if you push
the horse would like grab the person by the neck and throw them around or something.
Yeah. No, I watched the whole compilation of like people like standing by them, and then like they try to reach up and like touch the horse. And they're like, "Don't touch the Queen's horse!" Like, you never saw those? They're so good.
No, those people shouldn't be touching those horses, anyways.
Yeah, these guys are
training on like how to deal with bullshit from the public.
No, they definitely do because those guys will take a lot because they're not supposed to move. But then I saw the one guy he pulled his like machine gun, and they're like, "Step back, get away!" You never saw that? Dude, those videos
I've seen those. Those are great.
Yeah. Because like people are like trying to tease them and like make them move or make them crack a smile, and then somebody like touch them, and then I guess it's like if they touch you, like part of their training is like if they touch you, then you can like whatever. I have no idea.
And then
yeah, but yeah, no, it's a different world over there, and we're very blessed to have the system that we have here. As much as we talk about it and the imperfections, it's a pretty good system.
There's some things they can do that we can't, that I wish we could.
Like what?
They can ferret. They could breed golden eagles.
If there were ferrets that we were allowed to hunt with, would you guys still have Dachshunds?
I would. Yeah, for sure. Because like I know plenty of people, and one in particular that has put many a ferret down a hole in the east coast of this country for many years. And the problem is you need two
people.
Shout out
to Paul Aaliyah.
No, not Paul. But you need to the way this person, friend of the show, guest of the show, told us is they're not a dog, right? So when you put them down the hole, they'll push the rabbit out. But when they come out of the hole, they don't care like about you or where you are. They could care. They just scurry off trying to find something else. Like if like you flush the rabbit out of the hole and your bird takes a slip and chases it and the hunt continues, like now you got to stand by the hole and wait for this ferret to weasel its way out and put it back in its box. And then if you just run away, then the ferret's gone. You're never like, how the heck are you going to find a ferret in the middle of the woods? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's the problem. And that's why it's illegal in most, I believe every state, right, Aaron? Isn't it illegal in most states?
I think it's legal in some states.
I thought it was illegal in the whole country. That's my understanding.
I don't know. It's a crazy thing to be illegal.
Well, those animals are they're like a cat.
So most of them are neutered. First of all, I mean, I could see if you're talking about like invasive ferrets. I've heard some people say because we have an endangered black-footed ferret.
That's a good reason, but they're not around here.
No, they're only in prairie dog colonies. But, I don't know. I mean, the law it has to be neutered.
I think a ferret could last a really long time in the wild before it gets killed.
They're not as tough as people think.
No, but they can get in all these places, kill chipmunks, kill rabbits,
The other thing is our rabbits, they'll go into holes, but they don't live in holes like they do in England.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's a good question, Ian, because I have Franny now, who's essentially a ferret, but if I just had like a ferret that I could put down a hole, I mean, I'd probably still keep a dog that can track. Ginger can track pretty good when she wants to.
Yeah, they still run. They run dogs like crazy over there.
Yeah, they run lurchers too to catch
they
stuff.
Have Bulbaries.
What is that?
That's a pack of mixed dogs.
Oh, that's what it's called?
Yeah. A bobbery.
A
So if
bobbery.
they had a dachshund, a terrier, a lurcher, that's a bobbery. And then they might have a ferret in the bag.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's a good question.
Just
I would
infuriating everybody over there.
they can take a joke, hopefully. If they can't, they're listening to the wrong podcast. No, it's interesting. Yeah, I just from what I was told, it's a lot of work to have a ferret. It's more work than you think because you got to get the thing in the hole. Rabbit's going to flush eventually, or it's going to kill it in the hole, and then it's going to sit down there and eat it for God knows how long.
Oh, yeah.
And then if it's eating it down there, then it could last a while. And it's not going to come out. So then you got to put like a trap at the entrance. Like it just sounds like a lot of like a big pain in the neck.
Here's where I'm at with it. I don't want to do it, but I want the option to do it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I think we should be allowed to do it.
I mean, you could do it, just don't get caught.
It's just like you guys. You probably don't want eagles, do you?
Not necessarily. It'd be fun to kill some geese with one.
I've thought about that.
You know, even if for falconers who don't want an eagle, they should support the idea of people breeding eagles or increased access to eagles because it's just good for the sport.
Yeah.
100%. So your dog was useless. The dachshund was useless.
Yeah.
More trouble than he was worth. So then you got the jagd-beagle from Mike. Had a great time with him. He was an awesome dog. And then you got into beagles.
Yeah, so I think Jaeger really got me into like hounds, like a dog that would follow a scent trail really well, quickly and would open up. I really like, there's disadvantages perhaps to a dog that has a loud voice, but there's just something so cool about hearing it open up, like,
yeah,
like it just gets my blood going,
Yeah.
And so after Jaeger passed away, I realized that like this is the style of falconry that I really like doing, and hounds work great for spots that have a lot of above ground cover. There are certain spots which I'll admit that have a lot of holes, not as much above ground cover, where Dachshund's going to be a better bet. But for where I am and like the kind of spots that I typically have access to, it's like kind of bigger fields that are really dense. There's a ton of places above ground where a rabbit could go. And a dog that could track really well is super advantageous. So I love that style. And the red tails, they really pick up tracking the dog and like listening for its opening up and following, putting themselves in good positions. Like Ace, my red tail, my last red tail that I had, she was great at that. Like the dog would open up. I flew her at like stupid high weights. But anytime, and she wouldn't pay attention. She'd fly off. The dog opened up, she'd be there, and she'd just pounce on the rabbit. And so it was awesome. I love that style of hawking. So once Jaeger passed away, I knew I wanted to get a beagle. There was talks of me trying to get another jagd-beagle, but that kind of didn't pan out. So then I kind of started getting involved in the beagle clubs, and so I started going to field trials. And those are really fun. I went to about like 6 of them. They were part of the, I think, Northeast Gun Dog organization. And so they just, it was like the sort of events that I was going to was small pack option. So it's like, I forget what the exact rules are, but it's like around like 8 to 10 dogs per pack. And there's judges. Sometimes they're like on mules. Or horseback or anything, and then like,
that's cool.
Yeah, it's really neat. And there's like these really nice kind of these fields that they keep up. They like plant certain plants to get the rabbits to, have lots of food sources. They kind of keep the cover at like ideal levels so that they could, have refuge from predators. They like manage the predators sometimes. They have these like really nice fields where they hold these field trials. And all the dogs have to be like AKC registered and stuff, and so I just started going to those and kind of getting acquainted with that community, and that's eventually how I met the person that sold me Bender, who's my current dog. Who's Beagle, It's kind of like a big stocky beagle. It's a lot slower than Jaeger was, but a little easier to control on that account. And he's a great dog too. He's got an incredible nose. So I ran him under a bird for a year. That worked great. That was last year. Caught a lot of stuff, and yeah, now I'm trying to see if I could sort of recreate that, but with a goshawk, kind of change it up a little bit. But yeah, I love beagles. I'm a beagle guy now.
Yeah, they're awesome.
I have a question about that. Yeah, so one of the advantages I see with dachshunds is, and I think I'm just going to assume you probably hawk a lot of similar places to what I do, like urban spots, industrial spots. A lot of them are suburban or in town, right? How's the beagle do with those?
I mean, good. I think one of the things that I've heard from people like Teddy and some other people as like a potential downside of beagles is that their loud voice, like everyone in town, like knows what you're doing when they open up. And so I'm not saying that those people are wrong that are saying that. In my experience, the only thing that's really attracted like the attention of like law enforcement or people calling the cops or whatever is where I park. Like incredibly, like the dog could be opening up right out someone's backyard if you like cross a property line by accident or whatever. And for whatever reason, people I think are so disconnected from hunting that they don't actually attribute that to hunting anymore.
Interesting.
Maybe if I had like 3 or 4 beagles running together, like that sounds like nothing you would ever hear outside of like it's obvious at that point if you had multiple beagles, but just one running, I haven't had too many issues with like urban, suburban kind of hawking like that.
Interesting. Yeah.
That's
unless you had
point.
3 or 4 beagles and you're wearing a pair of overalls with a shotgun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got I have 2 like Garmin collars, so I was planning on running 2. It didn't happen because the other beagle that I got, Bender was just humping like all the time, like in my living room, and he like this other dog was a lot smaller, and Bender was just kind of like bullying him, and so like I just didn't like their dynamic, so I decided to take them back. I was planning on doing 2.
Okay, so yeah, I was going to ask, and you got these dogs like they look full grown.
Yeah. So sometimes,
why'd you do that?
So I just didn't want to have to go through the whole process of bringing up a puppy again. And there were some really great rabbit dogs that these kennels that do the field trials, they're looking to get rid of because, like, for instance, Bender, he had a fault where he would pick up on a rabbit scent, great nose, like, he could go very far in the field trials and become, champion or whatever. But when he picked up on a scent, sometimes he wouldn't open up when he's running with other dogs. Because when he opens up, all the other dogs will honor that and come, also try to find the scent trail, maybe get ahead of them. And I think he just kind of learned somehow that if I just stay quiet until I'm like 100 yards down the scent trail, then I could run it myself. And so he had that little fault, and he would get faulted for it in competitions. But he wasn't winning anything. So the sort of owner of the kennel was willing to part ways with him. So I got him when he was like almost 2. But like fully made rabbit dog. He was like great shape, pretty much running every single day on rabbits. Ready
Perfect.
to, yeah, it was awesome. Like it's just really comforting knowing that like even completely independently of falconry, there's a whole community of people that are selectively breeding beagles to just be amazing rabbit dogs with like the best noses and all the instincts that you want in a dog that can track a rabbit and signal that he's on it. So.
Did you find that your jagd-beagle cross was not as vocal as the pure beagle?
He had he was pretty vocal. Like he'd open up. It was a different voice. Like the beagle that I have now, it's like a really classic like bay. Whereas I think Jaeger's was a little bit more of like a bark. It was kind of like a hybrid type thing, but he would certainly open up.
Yeah, I remember he opened up on our hunt. Yeah, that was a great hunt. You never think how often? I'm just asking from like a practical day-to-day standpoint. How often is your beagle putting the rabbits, into somewhere where you can't get it out of, where you wish you had a dachshund or a ferret or something?
It's hard to say. I mean, I'm sure it happens. I've thought about it before. The spots that I'm at, there's groundhog holes that they get into. Um, I think if I added a Dotson to the team, I'm sure I'd catch more.
Yeah.
You
I
need
was
a
just thinking
bobbery.
the proper bobbery, two different dogs. Yeah, because our hunt, remember that hunt? That actually was like, it was as perfect as a hunt could get.
Yeah.
Jaeger just pushed that rabbit like all the way up the side of this, like out of sight, just cooking up there. You could just hear him. Then you push it all the way down, and then it went right in a hole. Goss missed it, and then Ginger went in, like chewed on it like crazy, actually. And then it shot out of the hole and like stumbled down the berm, and then the bird just drilled it.
Yeah.
And it was perfect. I'm like, I wanted one of these dogs now. I'm like, that was perfect. Like we just stood there basically, and he just pushed it all the way around.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love doing it, and like seeing him on the Garmin on the handheld, just making big circles. It's great running a hound. And if you had that Dotson hound sort of duo, you'd catch a lot, I think.
Yeah, I think that I think that, and I've said it before. I think that's like the unstoppable combo: a good whole dog and a good hound to push. I think that's perfect.
Do beagles care about squirrels at all?
Yeah, so my dog doesn't, like, at all. And some of that might have been trained into him, because I forget, it might be a fault for them to track squirrels. If they track deer, it's like a big fault in the field trials. So they're definitely like discouraged from that. But I think squirrels are too. I tried to get them interested in like looking up at the tree, but beagles are just complete noses. Like they don't believe it until they smell it. They can see, like even with rabbits, like he'll see a rabbit. He won't get excited until he starts smelling it. It's like that main reality is through his nose.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would love going on a bear hunt.
I'm sure I would.
You'd lose your mind. I mean, they're howling like on the other side of this huge mountain down on the other side in the valley, and we're watching, and they're just and they're like, oh, it's jumped. They jumped it. I'm like, how the hell do you know that? It's like, oh, the way the GPS and they're lined out now. See, they're pushing it now. It's running. And then it just comes up over the mountain, down across the road, and into a big stream. And then I put a 12 gauge slug right in its head.
Nice. Is that like recently? This was your trip, or
it was 2 weeks ago? Yeah,
that's awesome.
Oh, it was epic. Yeah, we were freaking out, man. Yeah, and when you're talking about the hound, the sound of a hound, and like, right, Aaron, we were saying it when we were there because we were like in the Appalachian Mountains, and it's like,
it's
you just hear them howling.
Yeah,
it's just they're down all the way deep in this gnarly, like, topography, and then you just hear like the dog catch a scent, a whiff of something, and just and then it like echoes up, and it's like all foggy, and like I'm like, dude, this is sick. This is awesome.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
It was getting me so pumped, man. Yeah, it was sick. Yeah, I want a beagle. I just, like Aaron was saying, I'd probably take the beagle with me to my big spots, like if I have time, and then just bring the dachshunds like to work when I'm hitting like little woodlots and stuff.
Yeah,
because because they want to run, they want to push, they want to run, and I need, I have plenty of spots where I'm like, if I had a beagle here, the hunt would be half as long.
Yeah, there's some spots that I've seen falconers be like, oh, it's too thick there. There's no openings. That, with the beagle, they just become very valid spots that certainly work.
He goes into thick, gnarly stuff.
Oh yeah, he'll go into thick stuff, but also there's like the cover that's sometimes really challenging, which is like it's not dense, but it's high, and like you can't kind of get through it. But like, yeah, he could just run it out of there. Especially if you have multiple beagles, they put a lot of pressure on the rabbit.
Yeah, I think I really need to add one. I think if I got like one of those dwarf ones, the mini cute ones, then my wife would be like, all right, we'll keep this one.
The personalities of beagles, I love them. Like they have the like most kind of happy, fun, easygoing personalities.
How are they in the house, the yard? Are they like howling up a storm constantly, or?
They have a bad reputation for that. My dog doesn't. He's really good. But yeah, they do have a bad reputation for howling.
Yeah, that's my biggest problem is like if I put it, because I keep the dogs in a kennel now outside. And that's where the dog would have to stay if I got one. And if it's just howling up the whole neighborhood, people are going to start to get pissed off.
I'm sure you could work with it to mitigate that behavior. And
work with it, zap the crap out of it every time it barks for no reason.
Work with it.
Work.
Use them as a-
yeah. Just tase it. That's great, man. No, I love
I'd love
that.
to see more beagle crosses out there. I think that's pretty promising. I wonder, did Jaeger like squirrels?
Yeah, Jaeger, I really put effort into getting him interested in his sight and stuff, and he was more interested in squirrels than my current dog. But he was like really nose heavy as well. He wanted to like follow scent trails, and it's not like those deckers that you see that are super keyed into the squirrels. Because that's what originally the idea was with the hybrid. Maybe this is your point, Aaron. Like getting a beagle, some of super strong nose, combined with something that's going to pay attention to its sight, and it's kind of gamey and like kind of terrier like.
Yeah, I liked everything I saw out of Jaeger.
My dachshunds love squirrels. I mean, I've talked about it many times. They love squirrels.
Yeah, mine too. And they're definitely an asset in certain, in situations, keeping that squirrel up there. The barking at the bottom of the tree while you're pulling vines, like it's more likely that the squirrel's going to do something stupid to try to get out of there. Like it definitely helps.
Yeah. And they'll find squirrels too.
Yeah, they'll find squirrels too.
Stick their nose in a hole and a squirrel pops out.
How much is a beagle running nowadays?
They're
you don't
cheap.
mind me. Are they?
They are.
I think especially if you want to get like really good field champion puppies, I think you could get one for like 500.
Okay.
And I think I got Bender for a similar amount. You want to just get a full grown dog that's been like running every single day and just has some like weird little idiosyncrasy that disqualifies him from the field trials.
Yeah.
Then you could pay a similar amount. A lot of the kennel that I got him from, Bramble Run, he just wanted room in his kennel for a potential dog that was going to be a field champion. So,
what was the name of the kennel?
Bramble Run.
Bramble. Okay. Yeah. How was the dog? How was the dog with the bird? We didn't even ask that. That's like the most important question.
Yeah, very respectful. Both Jaeger and Bender, both of them were very respectful bird. Like in fact, Bender Jaeger rather, he caught a rabbit one time just by himself. And then the bird saw him carrying it and swooped down. And the second that the bird kind of reached the dog just let go. So and Bender, he's almost a little too deferential to the bird because, he'll hear the bells and he'll kind of cower and he'll be all uncomfortable. And he's not the hardest dog ever, but it's fine.
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, they're single-minded on rabbits is what I understand. So it's like they don't care about the bird. They just want the rabbits. Yeah,
they have like ADHD. Like it's like if you want them to come to you, you can't just be like, "Hey Bender, come on." It's like, "Hey Bender, come on." Okay, then like 2 seconds go by, he gets distracted. You have to do it again and again and again. And it's like it's not that they're being disobedient. It's just that like they're constantly getting distracted by their nose and like looking for rabbits. It's like really hardwired into them.
I'd love to rent one or like do like a trial period for like a season.
Yeah. Ian he just has a kestrel right now. I'm sure he'd let you.
Yeah, if you want to run my dog, like we could talk about that.
That'd be fun. Or we just get together. You're in Jersey. I'm right here. We should get out. Yeah,
let's do it.
I want to get down to those fields that you guys got down there. I see Brittany's posts. All those fields, they look sick.
She lives like 10 minutes from me now, like right in the heart of all of my spots.
Oh, is that annoying?
She just moved. So we'll see. I mean, we're going to be collaborative, I think. So we'll help each other when we're entering a new bird or whatever. So, but there's definitely a decent amount of falconers in the area now. So it might be tough.
Yeah. What do you got? You got Bob, you got Brittany.
Yeah.
You, a couple other guys, right?
Yeah. I'm sponsoring my friend. So he's like 10 minutes from me too.
He needs to find his own spots.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you mentioned that you brought him to one of your best rabbit spots, I was going to say that's a mistake.
Yeah.
You got to tell him up front. You got to find your own spots. Just letting you know.
He's been finding some of his own spots. I just really wanted to see his bird catch something,
Oh, he got a bird already?
Yeah. So he has a bird. It's chasing rabbits. He hasn't connected yet. He just talked to me earlier today. He had some good flights,
and then you're just going to make him write a book.
I told him, you gotta be at least 300 pages, and
that's so funny. But I know James personally, so that makes perfect sense that he would want you to do that because that's James.
Yeah, no, I like James.
That's a wild expectation. It has nothing to do with hunting.
Dude, he overachieves, man. That guy, anything he does, he goes the extra mile.
I'm glad that he's NAFA's general counsel. I feel like he's probably done great with that.
Yeah.
So, and he's, he'll help people out too. Like, I think he helped you out. No, right?
The amount of times that guy has bailed me out of jail and showed up to court. I mean, it's ridiculous. I owe that guy so much money, and he never took a dime from me ever.
Yeah,
ever and ever. Criminal trespassing, getting a fight with this guy. I had to go to. It's not, and he just shows up, and I'm like, James. I'm like, what do I owe you? He's like, yeah, let's just go get something. It's gonna be all right. You'll be all right. Let's go. And then he gets up there with the judge. Freaking just rips the judge apart, rips the other counsel apart, and they're just like, whatever. And he's a shark, man. That
guy. Oh yeah,
he'll get you. I mean, you set that guy loose on somebody, man, it's over.
Yeah, when you're talking with him, it's like you're getting to the bottom of something. I don't know what it is, but it's you want to talk with a purpose.
Yeah, we want to get him on the show. We want to get him on the show and ask him a bunch of like falconry legal questions.
Like the cat question mostly, right?
That's like my main question. And then, I mean, he rode his bike from like Maine to like Argentina or something.
Oh, wow.
When he was young. Yeah. He got like stranded in the desert, like the Mojave Desert or something. Was that like in Africa? Wait, is the Mojave Desert in Africa? Wait.
No, that's the Southwest.
Yeah. Well, there was a desert in like South America somewhere where he miscalculated how much water he was going to need. And like he literally almost died.
Wow.
Yeah, he hunted pigs with a knife. He did. James he's done like all kinds of stuff. Yeah,
I didn't even know that. That's really cool.
Yeah, he does all kinds of stuff. He's a super interesting guy. Very interesting guy. Ian, is there anything that we need to cover that we didn't cover? Because I feel like studying. You're in school. You got the beagle. You're going to try a goshawk next year.
I think we covered it all. So yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man, it was our pleasure. Where can everybody find you and give you a follow and see what you're up to? That little clip you posted of him working that scent, and then I thought you were just showing his nose work, and then like he goes in, and then the rabbit shoots out, and I was like, that was great.
Well, I thought to myself, like, it's good. Like, I haven't been taking a lot of videos of him, but even for like associating food with the sound of his opening up, I thought it was a good idea just to get videos. And then sure enough, like I take a video and he like perfectly follows the scent trail, goes in the bush, rabbit pops out. So
it was great. It was perfect. Yeah. Oh, so you're making recordings so that your goshawk can hear the sound of him opening while it's eating?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, dude, if you're thinking that far, all right, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. You're fine. Yeah. You're going to do completely fine. Yeah. I would imagine your house is very orderly and tidy, and you look like a very organized person. So I think
not my carpet right now.
not your carpet. Yeah. But yeah, man, it was great to have you on. And yeah, tell us where they can find you, because I interrupted you.
Yeah. So Instagram, the letter EN _Gregg. It's GREGG. It's my Instagram handle. So right now I'm posting a lot of car hawk and compilations. So I'm having a lot of fun with that. I know it's not the highest form of falconry, but you can follow me there, and I'll post falconry videos every once in a while. So
yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. Your videos, they're great. Yeah. Good stuff, right, man. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.